Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Wood Couture Podcast. Emma Elizabeth Burdett, CEO and founder of The Wild, the Women in Business. Welcome to the show.
Hi Filippo, so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming to our morning coffee.
Yes.
And I want to kick off with Emma from a moment in time, from her book, From Fear to Fabulous. Guess, check the title, From Fear to Fabulous. This is wonderful. Where she states, I hit rock bottom. Let's find out why. Emma, what happened?
So I, a few years ago, built a very small women's network on behalf of a corporate. They asked me, how do you feel about starting a women's network? So it started with 4 women in a room and a piece of paper. This is before, gender equality was a thing. Now it is a movement. We see lots of things like Me Too, Black Lives Matter. But when I did this about 4 years ago, it was kind of off the radar. But the group grew to about 15. We did incredible work. We got involved with the local university. And what happened is I encountered some workplace challenges and made a decision to leave the role. I embarked on a journey of self-discovery and really had to face some fears, which, I think that we can all be, have issues with the wreckage of our past, that we have to go through a learning old ways and learn new ways of being. So I actually didn't work for 6 months. I took time out to rebuild me. The situation had left me with 0 confidence, and I actually suffered from having a breakdown. So I always say that when you're creating something, it can come from a rock bottom moment, and it can actually take having a rock bottom to rise up and create something amazing. So during the 6-month period, I took myself to Thailand for my very own version of Eat, Pray, Love, which I'm not sure if you've seen the film or read the book, except in my situation, there was lots of eating, lots of praying, and not much loving. Actually, there was a lot of self-sabotage and a lot of fear. And I remember getting my final no from a job interview. And I was on my own in Dubai. I'd been burning into money, as you would living here without a job. And I'd been having this spiritual healing from a lady in the UK. And I always say, look, whether you believe in this or whether you don't, this is the story. And she said to me at the time, look for the butterfly, it speaks of change and joy. And I thought, what a load of old rubbish. And it just so happened that I had a breakdown and I prayed for a miracle. And I just believe that we really need faith, whether it's God or Allah or the universe. We need to have faith, because we can either lean into fear, we can lean into faith, both of them you can't see. So I prayed for a miracle, and I went outside and I actually had a spiritual epiphany, because there were butterflies everywhere. And they were all on my arms, and I thought, oh my goodness, is this the change and the joy? And I just knew that things were going to massively transform for me. Went down for breakfast and I picked up a random magazine, and it was about gender equality. And there was a big caption that said, if you have a platform to be able to make a difference, you should use it. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to go back to Dubai. I'm going to build this women's platform for me, by me. And I wrote Wild from scratch. And really my prerequisite was a platform for women to come together, existing and future leaders to share knowledge, expertise, with a bigger view of contributing towards gender balance. And the very first event, I had 150 women from design and construction. I remember standing there thinking, oh my God, like I was so nervous, you know. My hands were shaking, I had a lump in my throat, and I just stood there thinking, oh wow, I have to deliver something meaningful. And I got through it, and that's really the start of the journey.
Yeah. When you look back at the, let's call it the previous Emma, what do you see compared to the Emma of today?
I see someone who was held back by fear and limitation. And I've since gone on to be a transformational coach, where I work closely with women to break through limitation, doubt and fear. And I often get asked what holds women back, and actually it's ourselves. I talk a lot about fear, and you know, fear of failure makes you procrastinate and stops you doing things. Fear of not enough and comparing ourselves to others. I think with the social media takeover, it's extremely dangerous that we're continually comparing, judging. It makes you feel quite small. And, you know, I think the old Emma was full of fear. I think I always looked outwardly confident, but deep down I wasn't, and I carried a lot of insecurity. I didn't really know who I was. I never really fitted in. And after having several breakthroughs over the last 3 years, I did a lot of inner work. I worked with coaches, I worked with healers, and I broke through limitation and doubt. So I've changed. I'm barely recognisable, I would say, from 4 years ago. And it's been down to doing the work. I call it the inner hustle. We have to do the inner work. So totally different. Now gone on to grow wild at an exponential level with huge plans for the future. So I'm proud, and I talk about it because I want to show, in particular other women, that anything is possible when we remove fear, limitation and doubt. So I want my journey to inspire, and for other women to say, wow, that's me, that could have been me. And I think by being real, we create empathy, and people see a piece of themselves in you. And I shape Wild around authenticity, because I was so fed up of going to events in Dubai that were sterile and contrived and 4 white cheap chairs on a stage. And I wanted to do something which was uplifting and inspiring, so every woman could walk away and feel that they could take on the world.
I want to go back, you know, it's listening to you is fascinating, and you know, for the men out there, we have a lot to learn, and I'm starting from myself. After I read Emma's book, I thought I knew something about women. I know nothing, and hence the reason I'm here to get educated about women. And but I want to ask you, in your very first page, you describe dealing with mental health issue, and the question I have is, when somebody hit rock bottom, how long does it take to cross the line and go to the ultimate, you know, and say, you know what, am I worth it to stay in here, or should I go on the other side? Did you ever cross your mind?
I had some dark moments throughout a lot of my life, and a lot of things that I've overcome that I don't share publicly. I think we are continually learning, we're continually transforming and reaching new levels. I think for me, you know, mental health is something that we need to bring more and more awareness to. I think that we can be so isolated and locked in our own heads. I never really had, a thought of going to the other side, but I knew that things needed to change for me. And there's an amazing quote which is so relevant, which is, the wound is the place that the light enters. So, you can have these meltdowns, but that's really where the light enters, and you can use that opportunity for growth and healing. So I always say to anybody that's having a rock bottom or mental health issues, or they've lost their job, or they're facing a divorce or anything like that, use that opportunity, because that's the transformation.
How, we are grown up, and everybody says if you don't make mistake, you don't learn.
Yeah.
So, but why is women particularly fearing failure? You learn from failures, but what is that a woman fear failure more, I think, than a man? I don't know. Why is it?
I think men lead with ego,
right.
And women have been taught to see themselves in a quiet space, and it's actually generational. I was speaking to my own coach about it the other day. If we look at our generations, women are taught to be the nurturer and the homemaker and the person that raises children, and men are taught to be the leader and the go-getter. And so now we've got this, I guess, rising up of women, and we've got these movements and these gender equality, movements that are happening. Our women are confused on a subconscious level. We're like, what is our role supposed to be? Are we supposed to be feminine and the nurturer? Are we now supposed to be the go-getter and the career woman and the boss lady? But actually, you're meant to be and can be a combination of both. So it's a combination of the masculine and the feminine energy. But I think this is where it stems from. I think women are confused, and as I say, taught to see ourselves in a quiet space. So fear is debilitating. It holds us back. And I always say to my own clients, there's nothing worse than looking back in 5 years and thinking, I didn't do that because I was too scared. I didn't go for my dreams or my ambitions because I was too scared to make the leap. The other thing is that I feel we are conditioned by society, massively
right.
Conditioned that we have to go to university, we have to do a 9 to 5, we have to be married by 30 with 2 children and a dog and a nice home. And there is a fear around stepping out of the norm to do something which is totally different. And I speak to women all the time and I say, you don't have to fit the mold. I'm 41, I'm not married, I don't have children, and I'm good with that. We don't have to be conforming. So I feel that there's a lot of fear around that and how we should be, how we should show up. But unless you break through the fear and try, I always say, nothing good comes from a comfort zone. If you're comfortable, you're not playing big enough. Because it's when you get uncomfortable that things really start changing. I've just left a full-time job to do wild full-time with no investment, no funding. Is it scary? A little bit, but it feels right. It feels meant to be. And I know that I had to make the leap to pursue my passion and my dream. Otherwise, you're never going to grow. So nothing good comes from a comfort zone. And if you're comfortable, you're not reaching your full potential.
Down the pages in your book, and I keep referring to your book because for me now it becomes the Bible of getting to know what corporate women really want, or women in general. So everybody out there, from fear to fabulous, please have a look at this ebook from Emma, because discovery is just a simple word. you will find out more into that. Particularly, caught my eyes this one, which is, you need to educate me. And you are saying, the more senior they are, the more they struggle with imposter syndrome. Tell me a bit more. I'm curious about, please.
Yeah. So imposter syndrome is endemic, actually. It's a big thing. I think men do have it as well, but I don't think men talk about it. Imposter syndrome is where you feel like a fraud. So you feel that actually you shouldn't be in the role or the seniority that you're in, and that you could be in a meeting and someone knocks on the door with a clipboard and says, I found out you're a fraud, you shouldn't be here. And what that causes with women in particular is a lot of self-doubt, a lot of feelings of, I'm not good enough to be in leadership or have a seat at the table. And actually I gave a masterclass last week called How to Be Seen, Heard and Understood, because really my area of expertise is working with women in male-dominated sectors, particularly real estate and construction, where in construction it's less than 10% of women in the whole industry. So imposter syndrome is real, and it can again hold you back. But there are a few ways to get over it. One, if you're successful, the more successful you are, the more it pops up. If you really are a fraud, you wouldn't think you are. Because I think those people just, have such big egos, bordering narcissistic, that, they don't feel that they're a fraud. And I always say to women, if you're in the position that you're in, you're worthy of being there. You wouldn't have got the role, and you wouldn't have the job title or the pay grade if you weren't worthy of the role. So it is a thing. I work with a woman CEO on a coaching basis. She is a CEO of an entertainment business. She suffers with imposter syndrome. It is a thing, but you can overcome it. But I think it is very much a mindset shift, and the thoughts that we're continually telling ourselves. And another thing which I feel is endemic is, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. So it is I think men have it as well. I just don't think they would ever admit to feeling like a fraud.
Yeah, obviously men have it as well. We do have it, and we think we're never good enough. And I think that's a personal statement. We're not good enough in supporting women, and that is for sure. And it is a much bigger problem for men than women, because we fail to recognize that there are human beings. They're just different gender. They are as good as, if not even better than male, and they've got quality. They've got the sixth sense. We don't have the sixth sense. A woman has a sixth sense. The body of a woman is much more developed than a man. Can procreate, we can't. You can give birth. So, is a more complex discussion, but that from a personal point of view, we are failing to support the female industry and human beings, I would say. But also, I was shocked that reading some statistics that only 16% of women are in leadership roles. But how can that be possible?
Yeah, this is really what Wild is geared towards. It is a movement for gender equality. And, I always say, Filippo, it's not that men are better than women or women are better than men. We possess different skill sets. That's it. But the beauty of it is that we should be able to be in leadership side by side. And it's about education. So historically, the prototype is think leader, think man. You think of a leader in a business and you think man. So, historically, it's been a patriarchy. And that's just the way it's been. That's the way it's always been. But there are so many benefits to achieving. I'm going to talk about gender equality. I could talk about diversity as a whole, but let's focus on gender equality. There are so many benefits to achieving gender equality, specifically in leadership. And the benefits are, not only is there a social and moral cause for getting more women into leadership, the biggest, most single thing is that if you achieve gender equality, particularly from a board perspective, it results in higher corporate returns.
I was amazed about this,
Yeah.
reading this in your book. Is how can it be possible these big guys, they are so blind about the
Yes.
fact?
And you know, this isn't just me coming up with this information. There is tons of data, particularly by McKinsey, the consultancy, who have actually said that if we achieved gender equality, it could add $12 trillion
Wow.
to the global GDP. So I always say, you know, if you're a man in leadership and you're aware that adding more women to the business and creating an inclusive environment leads to higher profits, that's a no-brainer. And actually there's further stats that show those businesses that have a 60-40 split or equality are more profitable. They're performing better. So there's lots of benefits to it, but I think the most prevalent one is higher corporate returns.
Even at country level, if you look at the Scandinavian countries, Finland, Sweden,
Yeah.
Norway, and they've got gender equality is very strong. I mean, in Sweden, I remember going back in 98 actually. I went to Sweden and wow, there is equality is everywhere. You know, there you try to look down or talk down a different gender. You know, whether it's a male to a female or female to a male, they're very strict. But women are very much empowered there, and things work perfectly, even better. You know, and what I want also to lead to through your journey is that it's interesting. I was reading you set up kind of a methodology. You know, your morning routines, what you do. Tell me a bit more about that, how you discovered this methodology to switching from the old Emma to the new Emma, you know what I mean, and recharge your body every single day. But how did you get there?
I think that habits and rituals are everything. They are in themselves transformative. If you read any book by business leaders, you know, Branson, Musk, Oprah Winfrey, you know, all different types of leaders, they all have habits and rituals. And when I coach women, I don't give them anything that I haven't done that hasn't led to results. So when I had my rock bottom and went through all of these challenges, you know, mental health and having a breakdown and really rediscovering Emma, I had nothing else to turn to except ploughing into, again, what I call inner hustle. Because actually your outside circumstances are a reflection of your internal condition. So a big thing is meditation. And, you know, meditation doesn't have to be spiritual or woo-woo. Meditation, if we look at the scientific elements, is so enlightening. I would say single-handedly that meditation has changed my life. I mean, for example, just to give you a bit of the science behind it, when you meditate, you slip into what we call an alpha brain state. And an alpha brain state is where you access creativity. Okay. And there were some thought leaders like Branson and a few of the people that went to this, a big guy called Vishen, who has a platform called Mind Valley, which is for personal development. And they went to this retreat called the 40 Years of Zen. And they were hooked up to these machines that monitored brainwaves. And they were said, right, go and meditate. And when they accessed the alpha state, this machine beeped. And another thing which made them access the alpha state was forgiveness. And every time they went through this process of forgiveness, because we've all been wronged, the alpha brainwaves spiked. So I honestly believe that meditation is a conduit to becoming creative. I know that I've come out of meditation and had the most amazing ideas. Right, I'm going to do this event on, from fear to fabulous. I'm going to build a consultancy now. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So meditation is one. Gratitude is something which is so, so, so important. We're energetic beings. And when we go into a vibrational state, I don't want to get too metaphysical, but when we go into gratitude, we put ourselves into a high vibration and you attract more to be grateful for. I read a quote by an amazing coach called Brendan Burchard, which was, commit to gratitude and it opens up another realm of opportunity. So gratitude is something that I practice every single day. I write a gratitude journal and it just puts you in a good mood, right? I mean, I take my habits and rituals to another level. I'm up at 5. I always listen to an inspiring podcast by, Tony Robbins, my own coach, Joel Brown, other coaches, Nick Pigeon, Brené Brown, authors, who make you feel inspired and that you can achieve things, right? And I meditate and I do my gratitude journals. So habits and rituals are everything. Physical activity is also a really big thing. I myself lost 10 kg in weight over a year, and I realised that I was eating, you can eat because you're a bit unhappy or you can comfort eat. Physical activity is actually another way of going into meditation. So, I think physical activity is extremely important, even if it's 3 times a week or, trying to do something every day, whether it's stretching, yoga or gym. So all of those things combined make you feel amazing. And when you feel amazing, you're able to achieve way past when you're feeling like shit. So, I think habits and rituals are fundamental to success. When I coach someone, I do a whole session on them. And they're like, oh, meditation, oh, gratitude, oh. Never underestimate the power of habits and rituals.
What is interesting because what is the common, let's say, feedback you get when you're coaching new ladies? What is the similar to every one of them? Because complacency seems one, on one side. Then the other question is, some people see routine as boring. So a ritual can be classified as routine. So how do you respond to that?
Yeah, that's 2 questions, isn't it? So what I work with women to do is overcome fear and to teach confidence. Because, confidence is something that you can learn. And really, I like to work with an introvert, particularly a designer, who has all these amazing ideas. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to stand and pitch and present. You're never ever going to be able to, in any career you do, escape presenting or pitching. Mm-hmm. And you've got to be able to successfully convey your ideas. Right. So that's really what I work with women to do. Now, when I've worked with women over 3 months, it's life-changing, really. And that's not because I think I'm wonderful, but it's because I've been through so much myself that I'm able to coach a woman to learn all those things that I've learned. And I have 2 coaches. You have to have a coach. You have to work with a coach or a mentor. I work with someone now who helps me see my potential, who is helping me build out Wild, and I work with someone who helps me be a coach. I work with two. So when I'm done with them, you know, one of my clients said to me the other day, "You've changed my life. You have changed my life." And that's the work that is fulfilling. That's me living out my life's purpose, Filippo, because imagine someone says, "You've changed my life." A British woman works for a project management company in Saudi, male-dominated environment, no confidence, no boundaries, was a yes woman, a people pleaser. And she said to me, her words, "I always felt in a pool of negativity, that I had a black cloud over me. I always was, I can't do this, I won't do that, I shouldn't do this, I'm too afraid." And I've now got this woman to not only put her hand up for a directorship in the business, she's also building out her own women's network. So I coach women to build out their own mini networks, and my actual vision with it is to have women with these pockets of networks all over the world, because they get to learn the leadership skills on the job, and also it's doing something towards the gender equality. Another lady client who I worked with for 3 weeks, and she's on the habits and rituals, and she texted me last night and said, "I can feel such a difference already, this is amazing." So that's what my clients have said, and that's what I'm proud to be able to do. That's what a transformation coach does. But there was another question that you asked me on the end of that, which I can't remember.
Some people find routine, you talk about rituals, some people find routine boring or, uninspiring. So how do you respond to those kind of critics?
Well, I've got a big response for that. I find, particularly with women in Dubai, they can perhaps follow their husband here, support him, and then they go, "Who am I?" They lose their sense of self and their own identity. Or a woman that works for a corporate who lives life on repeat, jumping out of bed, swigging a coffee, going to work, coming home, having dinner, that in itself leads to unfulfillment. So if you're unfulfilled and you're living life on repeat, something needs to change, because those things lead to stress, anxiety, breakdowns, burnout, health issues. Nothing is worth that. So habits and rituals make you feel good. They give you inner balance. They make you feel calm. They give you perspective. They give you the alpha brainwaves to be able to become more creative. So, you're either living on repeat, leading to unfulfillment, or you're implementing a habit and ritual which is going to make you feel good, which is actually going to create more success for you. So I think when you start doing it and you start to see the results, it's not a chore, it's I can't wait to do this. I mean, I want my clients to wake up every day with a zest for life, going, right, I'm gonna, smash it. I myself can't wait to do my habits and rituals. I cannot wait. And actually, if I do not do them, like I just had my mother here and it was a bit difficult to be doing all of that, I could tell the difference. I felt different. I was like, oh my God, I need to meditate because I know that it's just going to make me feel better. I'll give you another example. I woke up the other day in a foul mood. I felt irritated. When you coach, you have to be giving of yourself. I thought, I can't meet my client like this.
On fire.
Like in this, like just a mood, and we're humans. So we're always going to feel a bit annoyed or, a bit down. That's human nature. I mean, I'm talking like I've got it all figured out, but don't get me wrong, I have down days, really. And I thought, right, I need to meditate. I meditated for 20 minutes. I came out of it like a completely different person. It was like night and day. I went into it in the foulest mood, you know, you can't shake it. And I came out of it like I'd just had 10 hours sleep.
Wow.
So that's the power of it. And if you read into it, you know, this is, you know, don't take my word for it. Read about it. There's a lot of information out there, and try it.
I think I'll take your word.
Yeah.
It's proven.
It's proven.
You prove on your own skin. So
it's
I
absolutely
know it works.
proven. Yeah, exactly.
It works. So what does your mom think of the new Emma?
I think that, you know, obviously my mum's exceptionally proud of me, and, you know, I think that to do what I've done in the short space of time, again, I keep saying without funding, because, you know, I've not had an endless pot of cash to go, right, let's do this, let's do that. I've made some money, I've put it back into the business. I've made some money, I've put back into the business. So obviously my mum is, you know, beaming with pride. And what is most exciting is this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the start of the journey.
Of course.
You know, I am growing Wild into 10 GCC locations, which the first place probably will be Saudi, where women need this platform. You know, I speak to women in Saudi all the time. I did a online panel, a couple of women from the Red Sea development. We can't wait for Wild to get here. One of the key pillars for Saudi Vision 2030 is gender equality. I'm going to launch in the UK. You know, really Wild, as I say, started with real estate and construction. And I'm about to launch my consultancy. Wow. So that is something which is incredibly groundbreaking, actually, because I will be using AI intelligence to rapidly diagnose diversity and inclusion, which gives an execution plan for change. So when I did this INSEAD course on gender equality, the HR leader or the head of D&I, or actually D&I should be run by the head of the department. It should be on the dashboard along with KPIs.
Okay.
You had to build your own dashboard with the KPIs that you've created, which is labour intensive, and I think people are still in the dark with diversity, and it's complex and it's ambiguous. This system sends a link, anonymised, to employees, where Ava sends questions, and it measures biases, it measures how inclusive the culture is, and it automatically produces the dashboard. So you can see instantaneously where are we from a diversity and inclusive perspective. It then gives the execution plan. So I can say to a business, right, here are 3 or 4 things that you're doing well, and that we can congratulate the team and get some PR going. Brilliant, you know, tick, tick, tick. But actually here are the areas that you are really not doing well, and that we can make some changes. And then provide either leadership training or coaching, whatever the business needs to become more diverse and inclusive. So it's groundbreaking, because you can diagnose D&I with this dashboard in 10 days.
Wow.
So the traditional way would be that you'd hire a consultancy, like one of the big firms that we know.
Right.
It will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You would have a team on site. I'm talking in a corporate, you know, let's take a corporate, who would conduct interviews, which has still led to biases, right? Because we have unconscious bias. So interviews, then collating the data, then putting it together. This system, I go into a business, I find out, what are your objectives? So it will be, you know, we need more women in leadership. We feel that some people in the company still are unaware of what gender equality is, we need to create inclusion. And they will be given the questionnaire, get the output in 10 days at a fraction of the cost. So I won't probably be doing the leadership training or, I will do some of the coaching, but it'll be, people that I've partnered with to execute that are specialists in their fields. So that is, as I say, it's hugely it's going to really change the way that this is done and give people the dashboard they can quickly see and then benchmark themselves each quarter on where they were from last quarter.
So this is basically the bridge to link the saying with the doing it.
Absolutely.
This is one of your favorite expressions.
It is.
Don't put just a strap line, just get on with that, do it.
I have a big bugbear with companies that are saying we're a diverse employer. And it's just a strap line on the website. And you scratch the surface and they are not diverse at all. Moving from say to do, companies are having to take action. Shareholders are demanding diversity. There's a war on talent. They're coming up, the future generations, 85% of them want to work for a diverse and inclusive employer. So if you're a company and you want to attract the best talent, of course, you got to be diverse and inclusive because these future generations don't want to work with you anymore. So, it's a case where companies are not going to be able to not do it and not take action. And a part of my PR campaign next year will be, what are you actually doing? Let's stop talking about you're diverse. What are you actually doing about diversity and inclusion? And I think there will start to be metrics and stats that come out where companies, in the UK, we've seen companies have to talk about fair and equal pay for women. I think there will start to be some big things around reporting your results on how diverse and inclusive you are.
Let me ask you a question. It's interesting. I can talk forever and with you because I'm learning every second of our discussion. Again, I thought I knew something. I know absolutely nothing. All I know is from you.
Now.
No, absolutely. Well, no, I think I probably need some more coaching, from you to that. But you work very much on the corporate level, or mature women, let's call it. And what's your views in starting at probably teenagers? I have a teenager daughter, and she's in the world of confusion, social media. Sometimes, you don't understand. That's a clear sentence. So in the plan of wild expansion, where is education comes in?
Yeah, I mean, look, wild is for women in general. So it's for existing and future leaders. My plan has always been to tackle the leadership issue because it stems from the top down. A pressing issue for younger women is the lack of female role models.
Interesting.
So this is another issue towards gender equality. There isn't enough women in leadership for them to look up to aspire to.
True.
So that's wild. I hope creates mentors and role models for younger women to look up to and be inspired. So, Wild at the moment is focused on women in leadership and tackling that piece, which is huge in itself. From an educational perspective, I have done some work, with the universities to really build confidence in young women. I feel it's to do with confidence and role models. Social media is extremely dangerous, and it really gives me cause for concern because we've got young girls who are following Kylie Jenner who has had millions of dollars of plastic surgery, who looks amazing, who is on a yacht sipping champagne. You know, anyone that looks at that is going to walk away and feel incomplete. And look at my life compared to that. The first thing I get my clients to do, unfollow anyone on social media who doesn't inspire you.
Wow.
Don't watch them.
That's a bold move, yeah?
It's a bold move because we're obsessed with being nosy and watching other people's lives. You know, and I always think about young teenage girls who are underprivileged, let's say, who are on the streets or in care homes, who are looking at that. What do you think that does to young women? You're going to feel like so much incompleteness, so much feelings of not good enough. So even on my own Instagram, I only follow thought leaders, inspiring people, coaches who you watch and you feel motivated and inspired, not someone that's going to make you feel sick in your stomach and, oh my God, look at them and then look at me. And as I said, I think it's extremely dangerous. I've got my niece coming over next week who's 14, 15. She looks about 18, she's beautiful, and says to my sister, her mom, I'm ugly, I don't feel, you know, enough, and it's a concern because she's following these ideals on social media. So I think that is extremely dangerous for young women. So yeah, unfollow anyone that isn't inspiring. So yeah, I would like to do more with the younger women. I think that the coaching as well is something that I would like to do. I always say to men, if you're serious about your high potential leaders or the women that want to climb the ranks, invest in them. Invest in their development, their training, their skills. Get them a coach. Invest in them and put your money where your mouth is. This is going to be another expression of mine next year. Put your money where your mouth is. Don't keep saying I support women and then you scratch the surface and you know you don't. So invest in your younger females. Don't let them be deterred and put off by the boys' clubs. It's intimidating. It makes women leave, young women leave. Give them a forum, create a women's network, give them an outlet, create role models, and invest in their training and development. That's from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective. The best investment you can make is in you. You know, I've read extensively, I've ploughed into my personal development, and I've invested heavily in coaches. Best investment you can ever make. Don't ever live life unfulfilled on repeat and look back and go, what have I done and what didn't I do to reach my dreams? So, you know, personal development is huge and it's life-changing, and I can speak to it because it's something that I've done for 4 years now.
Let's say we interviewed a lot of female in leadership position, entrepreneur, and one of them caught my attention because she said, being a businesswoman, a successful businesswoman, I was entering motherhood, and I did not know how to balance the two. So my question to you is, and it's a burning question, a tough question, can there be a successful leader, a woman leader, and also at the same time being a successful mother?
I am not a mother, so I can't give you first-hand experience, but I have friends that are mothers, and I also coach women that are mothers, and I've also done events. And one of them that I did during lockdown online was having it all. And it is a issue with women. Can I have it all? Can I have the family and the children and also a successful glittering career? And you can have it all, but not at the same time. That's my personal opinion. If we look at someone like Indra, who is the ex-CEO of PepsiCo, an Indian woman, you know, women make up 3 or 4% of CEOs. I always make a joke that there's more white men called John that are CEOs than there are in fact women, by the way. It's another fact for you. But she speaks a lot that one area of your life will be compromised. She was a CEO and she felt that she didn't give 100% to her daughters growing up. So I think there is not a risk, but I think that having it all is something which is a challenge, you know. But then I've got friends in the industry, Nicola Trivet, who works at Summertown, Claire Spring, who's the GM of INC. Super women, mums, big roles, on construction sites. And I look at them and I'm in awe, honestly. I'm like, how do you do all of that? And they manage, they love it, you know, and they found a system which works for them. So I think women that are mothers who are high flyers can suffer with guilt as well, you know, but it's not something I can speak to firsthand.
But I'm sure you can comment on the fact that it is a wrong system, meaning, you know, if you look at the Prime Minister of New Zealand, because the entire system allows her to do her job,
absolutely.
She can be a successful mother and a successful Prime Minister. So from my point of view is that the system is wrong. It's not set up to support women in leadership, because also become mothers. You know, it's Mother Nature. You know, women can give birth, we can't give birth. So at the end of the day, I think the system has to support, put infrastructure in place to enable a woman in leadership position to do her job and be a mother at the same time, which is, again, creating the role model that you said before. But I wanted to ask you, who are your role models, women role models out there? Name a couple of them.
In the industry or just in general?
In general, would you look up and say, wow, that's my inspiration?
I always think women that have had a rock bottom story are so inspirational. I think for me, there are a couple of women that I have followed their journey and that I'm inspired by. Oprah Winfrey, you know, a black woman who was raped at a young age. So against all odds, from a poor upbringing, has gone on to be one of the most successful, not only women, people in the world. I mean, she's a billionaire. And she's played to her strengths. What I love about her is she's authentic and she's controversial. And that's inspired me to be who I really am. Because I am quite controversial, I am outspoken, and before I used to always hold that bit back of me for a fear of not being liked or saying the wrong thing. And now, quite frankly, I've played to my strengths where I am authentic and this is who I am. And when you really own who you are, you shine bright. So Oprah for me is a role model. There is a woman whose work I've studied closely, Gabrielle Bernstein. She is a new age spiritual thought leader, but she has several books, podcasts, so on and so forth. I'm inspired by her. She was an alcoholic. She went through AA. She's had rock bottoms. And again, she's authentic and genuine about her story. So they're both quite different, but they're two women that I am inspired by and whose work I've followed and who I've watched, and it's made me realise that the more authentic I've become with Wild, people resonate with you and people don't, you know, and I'm aware of that. There are people that don't resonate with me, but they're not people that are going to be my ideal client. And that's okay. I'd rather niche down, be Emma, do wild, and attract those amazing ideal clients, either corporates or one-to-one clients that you resonate with, that you know you can really make a difference.
Do men find you intimidating because you tell the truth?
Yeah.
Because you tell the truth, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, look, I worked in male-dominated sectors. I sold real estate software in London all my career. I was in a team in my 20s of 22. I was the only girl. I think my boss was definitely scared of me because I just don't think he knew how to handle me. And actually then I was very bombastic, you know. As you get older, I think you sort of change and become a bit more mellow. And in my 20s, I was thrown out of a client meeting, a PLC in London, for being a woman. Imagine that.
Horrible.
For being a silly girl, and what do I know about real estate? So I've encountered a lot of sexism and biases, but I think the other thing is as well, men are a little bit scared because gender equality, it's such a thing now, they don't know what they can and can't say anymore. They don't know how they should act anymore because it's like, have I crossed the line? Have I said something I shouldn't? So I think there's that piece as well. And again, it goes back to the educating men on what gender equality is. But, you know, I think if men are grounded and secure in themselves, I think they can handle me.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Final question. Unfortunately, I have to call it the final question because, again, I will spend all day listening to you.
I'm so glad that you have learned something about this topic because, you know, it allows you to infiltrate that with other people that you speak to and to, you know, have a knowledge of what it is. Because knowledge is power, isn't it? When you know about a topic, that's when Filippo can say, I want to make a difference. I want to contribute towards this. This is important to me. Men are key for gender equality. They are the ones that can be advocates for change. They are the one that can sponsor women.
But we also, you know, my biggest frustration, again, when you get older, I'm reaching 50 very soon, and in a couple of years, and you look back and we boys, because we still boys inside.
Absolutely.
We never grow up.
I agree with
and
that.
We are mommy's boys. We look up our mothers like our role models, but then eventually we're going out there and do everything possible to disrespect women. We don't support them. They throw you out of meeting rooms. So my question is, so we are real hypocrites. So, because first we look at mothers, which is our female role model, and then we go out there and do exactly the opposite of what we've been taught. You know, and for me, it's a personal frustration. You know, I'm surrounded by women. 73% of our company are female. I have a full house of female, including my 2 dogs. I have 2 female dogs. So, and again, I'm going back, and this is a message for all the men out there. When I thought I knew something about women of any space, even including the animal kingdom, we know absolutely jack nothing. And I'll be very polite because there will be another word to be used, but nothing. So we need more women like Emma. Because I think personally, and I don't know you that well, but you know, I'm starting to get to understand. But I think you've always been great, man. Nobody ever told you, in my opinion. You know, you were born great.
Thank you so much. It's been a journey, you know.
Yeah.
I'm continually learning, but there's something that I want to say as well. I am going to put together an online masterclass for men.
Wow.
Because I feel that I need to turn this topic on its head. So we've got women, gender balance, women's networks, but if you think about it, if men are still leaders in businesses, which most of them are still at the top, They're the ones that can make the difference for women. So if they are educated and informed about the benefit of gender equality, then they can make a difference. So I'm going to do an online event for men. And women can join, but it's to educate them on gender equality.
Absolutely.
I'm actually also going to piece together a live event for men and women about diversity, because people don't know enough about it, and I want to bring men to this conversation, and I want them to start taking action to make a difference. So it's almost turning Wild on its head and going, right, okay, we've got the women bit sorted and this is going great. So now let's educate the men. So I would love you to be a part of that, you know. I think that it would be great.
With absolute pleasure. And if I can do something in this planet, you know what I mean, I'm happy to do it, because it's time to step it up, which is one of your ethos, you know, I mean, it's transform, evolve, and step up.
That's right.
So that's applied to us too. And finally, if we put a massive white canvas on top of Burj Khalifa, what message would you write on that?
Anything is possible.
Why is that?
Anything is possible when we remove fear, limitation, and doubt. You know, we are conditioned by society to think a certain way. We're not using our full brain power. When we start tapping into our potential and our creativity, we are infinite beings with limitless potential, by the way. So anything is possible. And look at my journey from rock bottom, from fear to fabulous. Anything is possible. That's my message, and that's what I want to inspire people to know. No matter where you are in your life right now, you can transform, you can break through limitation and doubt and fear, and you can go on to do amazing and fabulous things.
Dear Emma, it has been a very fabulous journey.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Big high
yeah,
five.
Thank you.
Thank you.